Hey guys, this is Justin from nextbigtrade.com. It's been a while since we talked about the uranium stocks, but there's been some interesting things going on with these stocks over the last couple weeks that I think is worth talking about. Back in late 2016, we were talking about a potential stage 2 breakout in the uranium stocks after a long bear market. But the problem was, like the first rally in a after a stage 4 bear market often fails because of overhead resistance and a fact that like stage 1 bases allow a market to kind of clear out and allow new fundamentals and new catalysts to push a market into a new stage 2 advance. And the stage 1 base kind of represents a equilibrium between buyers and sellers, which again allows, whenever the fundamentals finally shift to the buy side, then the buyers push the market into stage 2. Well, back in late 2016, we were still, coming off of a stage 4 decline, and I think looking back, it was just too early for the uranium market to really have enough distance between the end of the stage 4 to really have a good chance to move into a stage 2 bull market. So obviously this initial rally in late 2016 failed, and then we've been creating a stage 1 base in the uranium stocks ever since, for essentially 2 years now. Now, fortunately, in 2017, we had a lot of other markets to trade, that were doing extremely well, like, Bitcoin related stocks, tech stocks, semiconductors, software, cannabis stocks, both in late 2017 and this year, were some, great sectors to trade. So, another lesson to learn about uranium is that, even though this market was taking a long time to structurally shift back into a more, bullish makeup, there's a lot of other markets to trade in the meantime, and that's really what stage analysis is all about, is trading the sectors with the highest potential at any given time. So with that in mind, turning to what's happening right now with the uranium stocks, the action over the last 2 months specifically has been extremely or a lot more bullish than we've seen these stocks act, for so many years now. So basically, we're looking at Cameco here, CCJ, and this is basically the bellwether stock for the uranium miners. And starting back, around April of this year, we started to break out above the 30-week moving average after a tight consolidation and after we've been basing for, at least a year. And, this initial rally kind of came up to former resistance and then failed. But what's interesting about what happened in late September and heading into early October is we saw another big advance above the 30-week moving average on back-to-back weeks of massive volume, more than 2 times average volume, which is what you want to see for a stage 2 breakout. And more importantly, we got up to resistance and we failed, but we held support at the 30-week moving average as the overall stock market was getting pummeled during the month of October. So all told, this is a big transition for the uranium miners, because a sector as weak as the uranium miners would normally just get destroyed when the market was acting that poorly. But the fact that the uranium miners, CCJ, held the 30-week moving average while the market was getting hammered is very important. And notice what happened as soon as the pressure on the overall market went away. Over the last 2 weeks, Cameco has broken above the resistance, and the volume that it's doing this week is massive. So all of a sudden, over the period of about a month and a half, this stock is transitioning from just an average stage 1 base to all of a sudden being in a stage 2 breakout. So very important technical actions going on right now in Kamiko, and it's probably going on, you know, unnoticed by a lot of participants in the market. And what's really important right now is Kamiko is making a new 52-week high. Most stocks in the stock market right now are still way below their former highs because of the amount of damage that was done to the market in October. And look at how Kamiko is outperforming the S&P 500 over the last month. And this is what happens when a stock transitions into stage 2, is that you start to see the stock outperform, the S&P 500 and, and move higher. And that's really what drives high potential stage 2 trades. Now, again, the S&P 500 is still way below, its high in late September, and is still not even above its January high, which I've talked about previously, that the 2800 line really for me is where I want to see the market get back above to confirm that we're back into a stage 2 advance. So right now the market is still a little bit vulnerable here to being either in a sideways stage 3, or if it fails at the 30-week, it could roll over again. But I've seen a lot of stocks in the market acting pretty well technically, so I've definitely turned a lot more bullish myself over the last couple of weeks based on what we've been seeing since the market's been bouncing, so far. Now, my favorite stock in the uranium sector is Energy Fuels, and this is because Energy Fuels broke out on massive volume back in June and already got above former resistance levels way back in July, has been consolidating sideways for a couple months, and then when the market got hammered in October, just like Kamiko, all it did was go down and tested the 30-week moving average, and then once the pressure was alleviated, this stock is already making new 52-week highs, and the volume again over the last 2 weeks on Energy Fuels has been massive. So I think this is the leading stock really in the sector right now, and one other thing that's driving this stock is the fact that it's also a vanadium producer. It's trying to go back into production with vanadium, and vanadium stocks are really hot right now. So this stock is kind of unique because it has exposure to vanadium and uranium, and both are actually, getting more bullish at the current time. So that's why you're seeing this stock outperform. And for full disclosure purposes, I am long this stock. I had a person on Twitter talk about looking at the spot price of uranium. So this is a monthly chart of uranium, and basically the most important thing to look at here is that uranium is back above all these moving averages here. It's back above resistance, and it's rising above the moving averages. So again, the spot price of uranium is basically showing itself to be in a stage 2 bull market at the same time as, the leading stocks like Kamiko and Energy Fuels are back in stage 2. And this is, kind of confirming what we're seeing right now in this market, is that it's in the very early stages of a stage 2 advance. Finally, I'd like to talk about the Uranium Mining ETF, URA. This mining ETF was formerly kind of like the only, ETF that I was familiar with that was heavily exposed to uranium mining stocks. But unfortunately, right now, this uranium ETF is now composed of a lot of stocks that have more to do with nuclear power plants, and even some like highly diversified miners like Barrick Gold and BHP Billington. So in my view, this ETF no longer represents a good depiction of what's going on with the uranium mining stocks. And I would really, for myself, my plan is to look at the two bellwether stocks really are Cameco and NextGen Energy. Cameco being the big producer, and NextGen being the big developer of an existing asset in the ground. So I would definitely look at those two stocks as being like what would be like your ETF if there really was a good one. But for now, there doesn't seem to be a good one for the uranium mining stocks. So wrapping up again, very early signs that the uranium stocks are in a definitely a lot different place than they've been for a long time now, and I'm definitely gonna be interested to see how Cameco finishes the week and how the volume acts for the rest of the week and into next week, because we're coming up upon resistance at the 1250 level, and a break above here would further kind of solidify Cameco as being in a new stage 2 bull market.